So today is May 9th, 2023. It's about 10:30 in the morning. This is Kelly Zakovic representing the City of Savannah Municipal Archives. So I'm interviewing Mrs. Elisabeth Noble for the Savannah Community Memory Project. We're conducting this interview at her home in the Historic District. So thank you for participating with us today. So can we start by having you tell us your full name?
Okay. Elisabeth with an S, not a Z. Maria, M-A-R-I-A, Noble, N-O-B-L-E.
Thank you. And when were you born?
June 1930.
And where were you born?
Where?
Yes.
Okay. Should I use the Czech name or the... Okay, the German name. Römerstadt.
Whoa.
I'll spell.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with the Romans. It sounds like it. Römer.
Okay.
Roman. Yeah. Römerstadt. R-O, 2 dots, umlaut. M-E-R-S-T-A-D-T. Römerstadt. Now part of the Czech Republic. But until the end, or I should say at the end of World War I, it became a protectorate. That means it was part of the Hungarian-Austrian Empire. Hitler took care of that in a different way. In 1937, no, that can't be 37, yeah, he annexed Sudeten, named after the mountain range, Sudetenland, and with the slogan, Heim ins Reich, back into the country, in Hitler's country. Well, what came of it? Quite simple. At the end of World War II, the Czechs took over and we were expelled, and we had the pleasure to live without anything at the mercy of the people in our neighborhood as refugees. So my second home became Bavaria. Beautiful country, by the way, not only good beer. Their beer law goes back to the 17th century. It must be good. Well, anyway, that's about it. Oh yes, and seeing no opportunity to find any work as a refugee in a different part of Germany, I decided to go to England. I lived in England for 2 years. I lived with a family, very lovely, considerate people. Wanted to actually adopt me, but there was no need for adoption. But anyway, I decided I did not want to stay close to a family in England for the rest of my life. So I left, went back to Germany, worked in a library, an American library. And on the base where the library was located, I met my future husband, David Allen Noble.
How old were you when you went to England? How old were you when you went to England?
I think I was 20 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. That might be wrong, excuse me.
Sure.
And I was in England, came back, and met my future husband, David Allen Noble. And he went back to the United States, and 2 years later, with paperwork having to be arranged and that sort of thing, I joined him. he won't give up either.
So where in Germany were you working in the library that you met David?
Baumholder,
Was it on like a U.S. military
West
base?
Germany,
Okay.
yeah. And I was in the main library working, and Nancy Ryan, the librarian, the American, said the gentleman who works in the library up on the hill can't come in today. I need to take you up. And that's where I met my husband.
And was he a soldier or?
Yeah, he had left Tufts University because he wanted to experience the world, I guess. And as he came in and sat down and kept staring at me, I told him, I said, "Sir, you have a hole in your t-shirt." Well, anyway, to make it short, we decided we wanted to get married. But of course, I needed papers to come to this country. Had to go to the American embassy. And by the way, that's an interesting thing to mention. The lady in charge talking to me said, "Are you going to the United States of America to buy nylon stockings?" I hated them. I never wore them. But that's beside the point. I tried not to be rude. Yeah.
Was that a common reason that people wanted to come?
Apparently. She was a very rude person. She said, "Do you realize you are going to a very nice, well-established family?" Well, I knew that. I knew his father had been at Harvard as a student. I knew that. And I knew that his mother would never like me, by the way she wrote to me, because she had ideas about whom her son should marry. And it certainly wasn't a refugee from Czechoslovakia.
Wow. What year was this?
When did I go to the embassy? I was still in Germany. I went to the United States, I think. I'm poor on dates now.
That's okay.
It must have been in the 70s or 80s. I'm not sure about that now. Anyway, since I had been a refugee, it was difficult to get permission to come to this country. And his father wrote to the then Senator Saltonstall of Massachusetts, because they lived in Boston. And I was granted permission to come.
Amazing. So when you came to the States, where was the first place you lived? Where was the first place you lived in the States when you came over?
Oh yeah, Boston.
Okay.
Good old Boston. Yes, I love Boston. It's one of the books I found.
What do we got? Historic Walks in Old Boston. Oh.
The Boston Way.
Very cool.
It's wonderful. Beacon Hill, Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on Beacon Hill. Look at the streets. Yeah. Yeah.
I was born in Boston, so.
It's called Historic Walks in Old Boston. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway.
And how long did you guys live in Boston?
I think I got married maybe a week after I arrived in Trinity Church, Episcopal Church in Boston, in Copley Square. And we stayed only 4 years in Boston, and then decided to live in Germany, where he wanted to become a student or study at the university in Würzburg. That was my home then, Bavaria, Würzburg, Bavaria. And so we took off. And we lived for 4 years in Germany. And the fact that we could live there is we both taught as teachers at an international language school situated in Würzburg, West Germany. And after 4 years, the money ran out and we got tired of doing that work. We came back to the United States.
Okay. And had it changed much since when you came to the States and then went back to Germany? Was it a different experience coming back, or?
As I look back on my life, I don't want to shock you. I should have stayed in Germany, and I should have been divorced from my husband. He loved women. Yeah. And we went to a lawyer in Germany for a divorce, but he wouldn't do it. He said, think it over, I'm not going to do that. Well, it seemed like it was going to work for a while, but it eventually turned not out to be. He conducted his life his way, and I lived my way. I worked for Historic Savannah. I did guided tours and whatever I could do.
Mm-hmm.
So
how did you end up in Savannah?
Yeah, he was studying at the University of McGill in Montreal, Canada. And we lived in Burlington, Vermont. And to finish his PhD work, which he discovered he couldn't do at a German university. He was not ready for that. He got his doctorate from McGill, yeah. But it meant that we had to drive up every Saturday for quite some time. And he had to catch up and do certain kinds of works and publish an article about the German Middle Age saga, the Nibelungen. Yes, it's a very wonderful piece of literature. But anyway, I've forgotten where I was. I sidetracked.
How did you end up in Savannah?
Yeah. And he hadn't counted on how different German universities are in their demand from students than they are here. He was not up to that level. And that's why he couldn't finish what he had hoped, his PhD in Germany. But he was lucky because when we lived in Burlington, Vermont, he was hired at the university, but not a full-time, because he had not his PhD. But he did get it from McGill University in Montreal. We drove up every Saturday and for quite some time. And he wrote an article, as I mentioned, about the Nibelungen, the German saga, you know? Mm-hmm. And so that was that.
And what brought you here?
Yes. Because he hadn't finished his PhD at McGill, the university in Vermont could not hire you as a permanent staff member. And since he had not finished it, we had to leave. And why did we decide to come to Savannah? I think he had written to various universities in the South, hoping for an interview. And that's how we wound up at in Savannah at the teaching at, I can't think of it. I got my degrees from there, I can't think of it. The university located in Savannah.
Are you talking about SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, or Armstrong?
Armstrong,
Okay.
Armstrong, yeah.
And you went to Armstrong? You got a degree?
Yeah, I got my BA from Armstrong and my teaching license, teaching German and I think Latin I had applied for. Yeah, I graduated with honors magna cum laude in 2 subjects, uh, German and languages and history, American history. Yeah.
Do you know what year you graduated?
I should really know that. I can't remember. But Armstrong would give you the information. You know, if you call them, they can confirm that I taught there and that I got my degree with honors there.
So you taught there as well? You taught at Armstrong?
Yes, I taught briefly Latin, but I couldn't get, because I have a degree from the Roman Italy, Gregorian University, Latin. I have a degree in Latin from them, yeah. But I have a teacher's license from Armstrong, yeah.
Did you live in Italy at some point?
Pardon me?
Did you live in Italy at some point?
Yeah, we lived for a year, an academic year in Rome. And that is where my husband hoped to make use of the archives in the Vatican City to do some research work. But I think he was a very unhappy man because the demands that were made upon him were beyond him. By this I don't want to say he was not a great teacher, he was. But there were certain things that he could not easily accomplish, no? Yeah. Yeah, so he taught for 4 years at the University of Vermont, and since they wouldn't hire him without a PhD, that is the reason why we came south. We chose Savannah because of what we read about it, historic and all that. It seemed like it might be a nice place, and we were lucky. He taught at Armstrong and was very much liked as a professor. So it all worked out, yeah.
And you mentioned that you worked for the Historic Savannah Foundation. What did you do there?
As a guide. That was long before all these companies came in with their misinformation. I mean, when you hear some of the things that makes your hair stand up straight. There's things that are said about Savannah. Savannah does not deserve that.
What kind of tours did you lead?
Pardon me?
What type of tours did you lead?
Historic tours and architecture. Okay. I was very fond of pursuing the revival architectures like the Romanesque, you know, that we have in Scat Building here, not far from here, yeah. And Second Empire, French Second Empire. We have that near the cathedral building. That is a dormitory, not a dormitory, but it is a B&B. It's right across from the Catholic Cathedral, St. John the Baptist. Yeah. Yeah.
And how long did you do that for?
Oh, I think I did it a few years. Yeah. I started out with Historic Savannah, as I mentioned, and Historic Savannah gave up that. That was a very bad idea, I thought. They just gave it up. Maybe they couldn't find the kind of guides they needed to justify that the Historic Savannah Foundation, you know. I don't know that. But they gave it up. So that was the end of that. And I wasn't going to work for one of those companies here. Yeah. They give you beautiful misinformation.
Have you taken any recently, or?
So it's too bad the Historic Savannah gave in, but they didn't have the kind of leaders who could be forceful enough. If SCAD had been at that time, they could have helped each other, enforce certain rules and do certain things, you know. But I'm afraid it didn't work out. And then when you look at the staff at City Hall, you know, I'm sure they're all well-meaning, very eager people. But maybe, I don't know, there's the lack of background, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So Savannah has, because of that, suffered. Because we don't have a strong force. And buildings are added to, stories are added to. There have been just now lately, when there was this turmoil in the city, you know. And all of a sudden, they're all added. If you look around at the houses, you can see the newly additions. Up they go. Yeah. Sometimes I have a feeling they are determined to ruin the city. They're not aware of the importance of it, obviously. They're not. No?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know which way Savannah's going to go, but that's really not my concern. Come to think of it, I got sidetracked.
No, that's great. One of my questions was, how do you think Savannah has changed since you've been here?
Yeah, it has changed. SCAD is good because they know how to restore properly, obviously. They have the skillful members on their staff. And I think in the long run, it's a good thing that they settled here. They settled here because Charles wouldn't take them in.
Mm-hmm.
They already had 2 preservation companies, so, and they already have their schools in downtown. They didn't really want them, and that is why I suppose you could say Savannah locked into it. It's definitely a plus, you know. So, because at least they keep what hasn't been destroyed. It's not funny, but life seems to me somehow ridiculous. So maybe laughing is a good way to get rid of it.
Definitely, yes.
Being mad at things, whom should I be mad at? Who would help the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the mayor of Savannah.
Maybe you should be.
Well, I better keep quiet because the Germans have a saying, böse Zunge, literally translated, bad tongue.
No.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, it's great. So you used to work with Historic Savannah Foundation. Are you involved in any way with them now, or have you been watching them?
There's nothing to be involved with. They're pretty much caved in. I think SCAD has taken over and SCAD knows how to do it. So I think they play their little games. And they have a lovely old house where tourists come, and they have a garden where they can have garden parties. But Historic Savannah Foundation is not important as far as leading the historic district and preserving it. But don't quote me anywhere. They might come after me.
Were you involved in any other organizations after HSF?
No. I just, as I said, worked for Historic Savannah. And no, I haven't ever done anything after that. No. I certainly wouldn't be a walking tour guide for any of these companies in Savannah.
Is there any changes that you would like to see in Savannah?
I think what has actually helped Savannah, which seemed to me it was on the way down, because the Historic Savannah Foundation didn't have the force to demand. So it seemed to turn and go the opposite direction. It seemed to go down. People started adding additions. People started doing whatever they wanted to do. So where's the historic city? Where is it? So the SCAD, of course, has helped in that regard tremendously. So.
Do you have any feelings about the tourism in Savannah or how that's changed anything?
Not really, no. No. I like Savannah because it's a walkable town. It has all the gorgeous live oaks. It is, I would say it's a rather unique place, talking about American cities. And living in the historic district, I love to walk. I can walk everywhere, wherever. I go to the river every day and talk to Neptune, the river god. Yeah, I walk to the river. I love to see the river. I see the planes coming in from Europe as they head for landing at the airport. And I've seen a shark killing. That was quite dramatic, seeing that. A duck that had lost its way and came into the Savannah River waters. And as I was standing there looking at it, up came the shark, and that was it. That was amazing.
Wow.
If somebody had had a camera and you could have caught that, that would have been quite a picture for Savannah.
What else do you like about Savannah?
The weather I mentioned, right? Yeah. It's laid back. It's not a very ambitious town to get ahead of, like Charleston. Charleston is a different ball game, of course. Senator Riley, at that time in the 70s, came to Savannah to speak about preservation of this city. In other words, he came to implore them. He spoke at the Catholic Cathedral, then it was just Cathedral St. John the Baptist. And he pleaded with the people to not let Savannah, to put it quite simply, go down. And they didn't listen to him. So who came to really pull it up again was scared. So.
Did Ron tell me that you go to the cathedral?
Pardon me?
Did Ron tell me that you are a parishioner at the cathedral?
I don't understand that.
Do you go to church at the Cathedral of St. John's?
Excuse me. I'm a member of St. John's. I almost said Episcopal Church. I was. It's interesting how your mind goes. Yes, I'm a member of the Cathedral Basilica, St. John the Baptist.
Is there anything you'd like to share about that organization?
I really don't have much contact with the people. And then that would be a long story. We let that go. But I go because I was raised as a Catholic. And when my husband was alive, I was, of course, a member of the Episcopal Church. But then I went back to the Catholic Church because you have to think of burial and you have to think of those things. So actually, I'm a member of the Cathedral Basilica, St. John the Baptist. Yeah.
So do you have a favorite landmark in Savannah?
A place I like to go to?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you where I like to go. I told you about the river and the river god. But I love to go to Brighter Day. I get all my food on foot from Brighter Day. I have a car. It's sitting in the Episcopal parking lot, and it's licensed and all. But I don't really go out that much. I do go to JEA, I'm a member. I like swimming, and that's why I'm a member there. But I haven't been lately because, well, I just really haven't felt like anything lately. I guess I'm tired of life.
You've lived a lot of it, so.
Yeah, it's about time to go. I mean, what the heck do I have to wait for? Certainly there isn't going to be a charming young man offering his assistance to me.
You never know.
And his love on his knees. No, I'm quite happy actually. I read a lot. I always have my Latin dictionary handy because I love to always search the origin of the words, you know,
Okay.
the etymology. So that's my one of my prayer books, the Latin English dictionary, and then I have an English German, and then an Old English, yeah. And as I say, that's my lovely little Boston, yeah.
Do you have a favorite building in Savannah?
In Savannah? For architectural use?
Sure, yeah.
There is a branch of the library downtown, right? But I've never been there. Yeah. To tell you the truth, I really don't go to any houses. I can't think of one.
Or from when you led your tours or anything?
What?
Like when you led your tours, did you have a favorite stop or land?
I mentioned Brighter Day, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love to go to Brighter Day. And it combines with a nice walk. It's about a mile to go there and a mile back, so that's helpful. And if I haven't had enough walking, because I'm a walker, then I go down to the river and do a bit of more walking.
Okay. So is there anything else that we should know about your life before we wrap this up? Anything else you'd like to share that makes you you?
That I would like to do?
Or like to share with me?
I tell you, I would like to go back to Germany, but I can't. I would very much love to live in Germany, but I burned my bridges behind me, because when I arrived at the Boston airport in the 1960s, when I came to this country, they took my passport. They just took it. And I was met by my future husband at the airport. I was looking more at him than at the policeman anyway. And so I lost my passport. Never got it back, but of course I had to apply for a new one, and I do have a passport now. And I was in Germany just a couple of years ago. Yeah. I took a chance to go by myself, having no electronic equipment, not even a handy, that the Germans call, you know, your telephone that you walk around with, you know. And that people are very busy all the time as they walk along. It's a great preoccupation. Yeah, to me, it's like a toy now for people. They just really almost addicted to it. They got to have it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I said goodbye to Germany, and that was one of my sadder moments in my life. I saw the river, the castle, the vineyards, the beautiful old houses, and I said to myself, what a damn fool you were to leave that. Because my husband was very adulterous, and it was a very poor marriage. And I gave all that up. And that's one of the things that could make me bitter, but I do not allow myself to do that.
That's good.
That's not the way to go. Yeah. So I'm a member of the cathedral, and I go there at 12 o'clock Mass most of the time. Yeah.
So you said that your husband wouldn't agree to a divorce, and so at that time, did
Let's say
women...
it again.
Sorry, you said your husband would not agree to a divorce. So at the time, were women not allowed to sort of do it anyway? Does that make sense?
I don't think I understand that.
So you had to have your husband's permission to get a divorce, or he had to agree to it? That's okay.
I draw a blank.
So
I think I just repeat, and I may hit it what you were asking. It was a poor marriage. No, I hadn't said that before, because his mother hated the Germans. It was her own business. And also she had somebody singled out for my husband to marry, of a very wealthy, established family that were friends with my husband's family. Huh? And so when I came, she disliked me from the moment she saw me, because I got in the way. But I didn't know all that at the time. I didn't know it. Huh? Yes, my husband did it to spite his mother. I was the victim by taking me to the United States, introducing me to his mother, whom he very much disliked, to go back on her. So I was the victim, but I didn't know that. But he himself turned out not to be a good man anyway, so I mentioned that already. He would regale telling me stories of making love right here. Yeah, he did not take them to our bed, the ladies. He made love to them right here. He told me all that. I guess it was a kind of a vicious, gleeful thing to torture me, you know? I don't know, he must have. But to use me as an instrument, I didn't know that, you know? It all came out eventually. Yeah.
did you stay in touch with your family back in Germany after you moved here?
Say that again.
Did you keep in touch with your family back in Germany after you moved here?
I am in touch with my niece and her husband and her son, but and I saw my niece when I was last in Germany just a few years ago. She came down from Bremen, North Germany, and we met in the town where she actually lived for a while, and where her father is buried, my brother. No? Yeah. Yes, I wanted to see Würzburg again. It's the most beautiful city. And as I say, I didn't know that my husband had these things in mind to hurt his mother. I was the victim, but I didn't know about it. Yeah. But good things came out of it, nevertheless, because I could take advantage. He was a professor at Armstrong. He taught German and Latin, and sometimes he helped out in the history department. I could get my 4-year degree in Armstrong without financial losses, because he was a member of he was a professor at Armstrong. So that again helped. No? So I took advantage of that, and I honored with magna cum laude, degree, with, what is the word I'm looking for? Honors. No?
It's impressive.
Yeah. And Strozer, his department head, I've forgotten his first name, Mr. Strozer, gave me a chance to teach Latin. But since he taught my husband Latin and German and helped out in the history department to justify his pay, there was no room for me. Otherwise, I could have been a Latin teacher at Armstrong. Yeah. Because I mentioned to you that I have a degree, I have it upstairs. It's from the Gregorian University in Rome, Italy. And it's one of the huge things. No? Yes, that I studied Latin, and that I have a degree in Latin from a Roman Pontifical University. Pontifical meaning the Pope. Comes from the Latin pons, pontis, the bridge. Interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's me. I'm here.
Okay, one question I forgot to ask. Were there any events in Savannah that are memorable for you?
Nothing really positive that I can think of. No. Except that I enjoyed living in a beautiful city like this. That I didn't wind up in a suburb on top of everything. So at least I got that. And yes, that is a gift. That is a great gift. Because I do like historic Savannah, the city historic Savannah. I liked what SCAD does. And I'm glad that Charleston didn't want them. And that's why they came here. And I'm very glad for that, because I think they've done a good job. They've brightened the city, they have beautified it, and look all the money that comes in from the students. And the students are not from poor families who study at SCAD. So it has helped the economy.
Okay. All right. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share?
What's that?
Any last thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up?
An interesting talk. Did you say interesting?
Last thoughts? Anything else that you want to share?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. Your life sounds fascinating, and I could sit here all day and talk to you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it a little bit too.